I'll go through the flow one more last time. I'll just do an introduction. I'll say hello, and then I'll say that we're here with Silent Knight and Batsu. Take it away, and then you guys can start,
Okay.
and then do your thing.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll probably get Silent for you to say hello first, and then Batsu can say hello after,
yeah,
and then you can
yeah.
do your thing.
Sweet.
I will say this after you'll see the intro on the screen. So I will skip to where we reveal the battlefields, and then from there it will happen. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. If you guys are happy,
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
good here.
perfect. All right, I'm gonna get it done now. So if you be quiet until I introduce you, just so I don't have to mute you. Perfect. I'm starting it now. Welcome back, everyone. We got another video here covering a Nexus night where I was playing as Whimsy, playing Miracle Draven versus Irelia. And to take this game away, casting is going to be Silent Knight and Batsu, because I don't want to talk about my mistakes, so we'll get someone else to do it for me.
Yep, and it's great to be here today, and Batsu and I have had a couple of casting experiences together, so it's good to be here and seeing you again, Batsu.
It's so nice to see you after last time too, Silent, because like I remember I just beat you pretty bad last time we played too. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun to cast finally with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, and I mean, we definitely got a great matchup here, and surprisingly enough, Aurelia can be a very difficult matchup into even a Miracle Draven build just because of the mobility that it's able to have and scoring points very quickly. And so in this case, I don't, if Aurelia is able to start going and getting a lot of early points, then Miracle Draven might be having a little bit of a struggle here.
Yeah, I also saw that Draven just kept stacked deck and didn't take Ezreal, if I didn't see entirely wrong, which is interesting. I do feel like Miracle Draven does love the Ezreal, but I guess Draven also can feel very weak even if you have the Ezreal, but you don't have the seal to pair with the Ezreal, so maybe they're trying to hunt for the seal straight out of the gate.
Yeah, because a lot of times it can feel a little bit like you are wanting to keep as many of your runes as you can so that you can start playing multiple cards to try to get out your battering rams, trying to get 10 cards into your discard for the Rasas and things like that. So it's like, all right, let's continue to dig here. There's the seal being found. But right now, I mean, Aurelia has already had a very powerful start with a sneaky deckhand and a lonely Poro going for 2 points and soon 4. So something needs to be done here, and it's already putting, Jacob here in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, they had the second Ezreal in hand. I probably didn't see it, but it is very weird but fun to see Irelia's running the sneaky deckhand. We had a top 4 Irelia in my skirmish today, and they were also running 3 sneaky deckhands in main deck, which is so Irelia has somewhat become almost a little more aggressive deck, contrary to previously when it was more of even a combo deck previously. So it has taken like a different turn in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it definitely has, but I do really like the sneaky deckhands being added in because it just gives you that little bit more of aggression that you need. Because a lot of times it is just going first and going, and you play out like a Guardian Angel or a Zhonya's Hourglass, something like that, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to spend the first 3 turns building up just gear at this point, but you're seeing the aggression here that even after going in for almost forcing a trade, it doesn't matter here. That sneaky deckhand's going to be able to take the other battlefield and get going here. Now, the hard part is that if you aren't able to maintain the card draw of Aurelia, you can really start to struggle against Miracle Draven.
And that being said, they did discard the Stellar Corn, which is interesting, but then again, I don't know their hand, so it's hard to say. But I do think the Stellar Corn is like the engine of Irelia sometimes. Sometimes you don't need it, sometimes it just so well carries your game. And maybe the sneaky deckhand does kind of enable Irelia to be on an even playing field through the mid game. So you don't always have to play from 2 points behind.
Yeah,
And we can see it here really making a difference.
Yeah, now the difficult part here, especially with Jacob trying to attack in, you got to be so careful about all the tricks that Aurelia can have here, and especially with Ezreal, it's like, do we want to lose Ezreal? So we're hoping here that Jacob's going to be able to have a response in order to counter this Unguard that is now making this sneaky deckhand at 4 might. And it looks like he does have the answer. It is going to be a spinning axe that will be adding 3 and allowing Ezreal to live to fight another day, and a great way to deal with that trick there. So point on the board, a good card draw, and we'll see what else is able to be done with Jacob's turn.
Yep, that is almost a $90 stack on the bottom battlefield from Jacob. But the good thing about Guardian Angel is that unlike Zonia's, you can actually choose what it saves. So if the Guardian Angel was a Zonia's, it would have been very sad to procure Zonia's just because of the sneaky deckhand. So, and there's the hidden card also, which I do hate to play against Draven just because of all the hidden cards. It's so annoying.
Well, and the hard part is too, it's a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely a fight or flight. Might be an Edge of Night, whatever it might be, but even still, that still means that you have to deal with it. Now, luckily with Aurelia, you do have, you know, the defies and the not so fasts and things like that. But at the same time, you got to still be able to juggle all the power that you're going to have to sacrifice here. I mean, we're seeing right now, just for playing out an Aurelia, getting her ready with an attached gear, now we're having to recycle 2 runes. And that's just to get Aurelia ready so that it actually can attack in.
Yeah, and now if they do have to play this stupid, not so fast or defy, that's gonna be another D ramp, and that's sometimes the problem with Irelia. You finally get to that 7-6 rune mark, and you just start D ramping like crazy. So it is sometimes a little risky, but that being said, Irelia does have the deflect, so this also makes Jacob D-ramp, and Jacob is only at 3 right now, and we probably see not so fast here, so Irelia does clear the Ezreal out, and Jacob did take the big risk with Ezreal. I think it was the right play. It did get punished, but if it didn't get punished, that probably would have won the game for Draven as of right now. So it was the right play, but it did get punished this time.
Well, and that's kind of the risk and reward of what you're gonna have to find here with Draven. It is like, when you're trying to do a fight or flight on the Aurelia, it's like sometimes it's just such a hard call to make, and you can be punished incredibly hard with Aurelia. Now, of course, with Aurelia not necessarily being able to find the card draw, there is just 1 card in hand. And so sometimes it comes down to, can I outlast the Aurelia's answers? And if so, now I can be able to move in and start playing my game. And so now we're going to start seeing the Rosses coming in. We could start seeing some battering rams potentially coming in as well. And if you are able to rebuild that might, it can be a very difficult game for Aurelia to come back to.
Flight, ride the wind. We still haven't seen a crazy 20 might turn from the Miracle Draven, so a little bit of a slower game for the Draven also, which is very unfortunate when the Irelia did slam down 2 sneaky deckhands.
Yeah,
the Irelia goes to base.
Got the ideal start. And so, especially with moving back to base now, you still have the Guardian Angel alive, so you're going to be at 5 might naturally. And so the Zon Warrens here for Jacob is going to be very helpful here, but he needs to be able to get that might going. He's leaving 2 runes up, and this is the tricky part too, because you need to prioritize a lot of the time getting out your battering rams early game so that you can get your Rosses out late game, so you have that complete bombardment of might. And unfortunately, that seems like that was missed a little bit here.
Yeah, and I don't think Jacob can whittle their way out of this, because Irelia should be able to deal with anything that costs 2, and there's the Rebuke. Now, does the Irelia has an answer for this? I mean, now the Defy actually cannot save Irelia because Rebuke does cost 2 power, so it does go through. And Jacob is still in the game.
The only
Or
problem
actually,
is that
can they just replay Irelia?
Yeah.
No, they have already used the legend. What? They have already used the legend.
And so this is the difficult part, though, because Jacob has used so many of his runes. Just on that Rebuke alone, that was 3 power that you had to sacrifice there. And so it's like, okay, now that we're at least able to take care of the Aurelia, though, what can we continue to do to
Okay, they just forgot to
ensure-
ready their legend.
Yeah, it looks like they
So
forgot.
I think it's game.
Yep, and so
Yeah.
again, immediately able to ready up and just go right in. And this is kind of the risk and reward sometimes of playing a miracle deck, is that one, it can be very complicated, but even on top of that, there are still things, even with the card draw, that needs to go right here. And so Jacob, with his sighting in now, is going to need to be able to find some additional answers to get things going again and take it back to his opponent, who is now up 1 game.
Yeah, and I do think that's like this strength and weakness versus the mid-range version. The mid-range version is basically good from early game all the way to the late game. The miracle version can have some troubles early game, and and we saw that perfectly here, forcing Jacob to take the risk with the Ezreal. Got punished for it, and I think that kind of sealed the deal on the game. Unfortunately, that usually shouldn't be the case against Irelia, especially, but the double sneaky deck can't really accelerated the game pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you got to be worried about. And again, that still is going to be a risk and reward of Aurelia, because if you're trying to get those answers mid to late game, and then you draw a Poro or you draw a sneaky deckhand, it's like that can almost be to your detriment as an Aurelia player. And so in this case, it did really work out well here for Aurelia, but sometimes you're taking that risk.
Yep. Just had a triple sneaky deckhand starting hand on one of the Irelias in my skirmish today, and that was a quick go next angle. So yeah, but I think Irelia kind of has the stuff that Annie did in set 1. I think Irelia might be the closest to set 1 Annie as of right now in set 2. Or what do you think? Which is the closest to Annie?
Yeah, that's the hard part, because I do agree with you on that. But the big thing with Annie that made her so deadly was the ability to continually accelerate units and maintain that card draw. And, you know, while Aurelia does have multiple similarities there, Aurelia has a lot more of even like an Ornn type deck style where you're just trying to keep one unit alive, whereas Annie had a lot more of the versatility where you had to worry about Darius and stuff. Yeah, and so it's like if you take out Aurelia in the game, well, that's probably the only Aurelia. And so you have such a leg up on your opponent if you are able to take out those big threats.
But the Reaver's Row is now on the board, which is very, very good for the Draven, obviously. And imagine if the Reaver's Row was played in game 1, where Jacob went for the Conger with the Ezreal. That could have been a whole different game, being able to put Ezreal on the Reaver's Row and it surviving the Irelia's attack.
Well, and that's the scary part too, because it's like now at the same time, Aurelia is going to be able to capitalize on this too.
True.
So you got to be very careful with that, because now you're going to be relying on your spell counts essentially. But Aurelia has deflect, and so it's like, all right, cool. Well, let's see what we can do to try to go against this. And it's a pretty much a guarantee that Aurelia is always going to be able to beat you out on might. So you got to be so careful on how you balance that. So Jacob's going to have to play this smart here if he's going to want to at least take this into a game 3.
Still already looking better than game 1. I mean, no sneaky deckhand turn 1. And I mean, Zonias is also a little punishable, especially if you're playing purple, because Zonia's doesn't save you from fight or flies or rebukes. So, and combine that with the reverse row, this Draven is very safe. If it wasn't on the reverse row, the Draven would probably be pretty dead.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a good point there and something to consider. And luckily, Jacob, again, has been able to find the Ezreal that's going to be discarding a fight or flight. That is something that a Fizz can still be able to use. You're normally running 2 in the Miracle deck. And so already getting a called shot out, again, getting those additional answers. But a Rebuke going on to the bottom. But, I mean, he was punished pretty heavily even after using a Rebuke previously in Game 1.
I mean, Switcher could catch Irelia off guard for sure. I didn't see if they kept the second seal, because I mean seals are very important against Irelia, especially because you can pay for the deflect cost with the seals. So I do hope they kept the second seal. But keeping the switcheroo over Rebuke is a little debatable, I would say. It's a little debatable. Switcher is kind of useless, especially against Zonias, because it kills Irelia. At least Rebuke would force the Irelia to replay their champion again, which is pretty expensive.
Yeah, no, and that's going to be the balancing act that you're trying to find here, and especially why Miracle can be such a difficult deck to pilot, because when you have the ideal hand, the deck, in a lot of ways, almost plays itself. But the hard part is when you get into a difficult hand, and it's like, I'm kind of missing the Ezreals here. I don't necessarily have the card draw. Then what do you do with this deck? And I think that's exactly why we've seen players like Prismaticism and Randy able to perform so well with this deck, because when you are in those low points, they know those lines so incredibly well that they can get out of their situations and be able to take it back to their opponent.
Yeah, and almost the biggest problem of, for example, Miracle is that they don't really have a lot of deck space to work with. So even if they want to build around Irelia, for example, which is a little tough for even the Miracle Ezreal sometimes, they just can't really fit anything into their deck. They have the seals, they have the Rasas, they have the Ezreals, they have the cold shots, they have the stack decks, they have the Rams. So the Ezreal Miracle, I mean Draven Miracle decks are like 95% of the time pretty similar. That is also an edge for the opponent, because they know your deck almost better than you know it yourself, even sometimes. So Irelia, it's gonna be very easy for your opponent to read what you have, what you're gonna be playing, and you can always expect the Ezreal and Draven to do certain things on certain turns, and that's kind of the weakness of playing the popular deck, and then combine it with the deck limit size, and sometimes it can get a little troublesome when you're trying to put in those niche cards, those surprise cards, because you don't have space for that.
Yeah, and that's going to be the hard part too. And even with getting things like Called Shot, is a lot of times you're going to have to try to find the optimal answer. What is going to be paying me the dividends a turn or two from now, compared to, because we saw the Fizz right there. And sometimes even like a Fizz, it's like, all right, well, next turn, let's play out that Fizz, maybe get another Called Shot or a stack deck going again, or maybe even like a Fight or Flight or something along those lines, so that I can try to at least get my game going and take the game to the Irelia here. And so it's like, this can be very accident prone, if you will, because it's like if you end up making those wrong decisions, you just almost punish yourself. But at the same time, Irelia has that same kind of ability too, where you can make a couple of misplays. You have to be playing Irelia so tight so that you cannot make those mistakes, because if you recycle too many runes, I mean, right here we see with Irelia even moving in, now that's another power cost with the signature spell and things along those lines. And it's like, there goes 2-3 runes.
Irelia chose not to use the defend trigger of the zone. I mean, the reverse row. So they're gonna have to have a pretty combat trick heavy hand here. especially when Draven is obviously attacking with more energy. If I was Jacob right now, I would try to bait out Irelia's cards so they run out of
If I
energy.
could jump here, by the way.
Yep.
So we actually played this a little bit incorrectly, and then we like talked it out afterwards because I moved in, and then we resolved the when I attack, when I defend a bit incorrectly. So, for example, I had the when I attack trigger and when I defend trigger. So the when I defect would be added onto the stack, and then they reacted with the Defiant Dance to that on the stack. So then I still had the ability to basically recycle 2 extra runes, and then they could like go back. So it might look a little bit confusing, but
Gotcha.
it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
No,
But,
So
and
they basically used a trigger to go back to base, but they reacted to
yeah.
the actual trigger that was put on the stack.
okay.
But yeah, like I was saying, I think with the Zonias on board, you don't really care about killing the Irelia per se. I would probably look to bait out Irelia's energy so they tap on under the not so fast and then try to, for example, rebuke the Irelia champion. So I'm excited to see how Jacob deals with the Zonias. I think that's the biggest problem of Jacob right now.
Yeah, and that's going to be the hard part is how can we outscore Aurelia? Because we're going to be able to now be at 7 runes. We have the ability to get some good combats going. And on top of that, we can even punish you for any responses that you might have. It's like, okay, if you fight or flight, cool. I'm happy with you as a Miracle Draven player sacrificing one of your power so that you can target my Aurelia and push her back with a fight or flight. I'm happy with you to be able to do that because that is impacting your game so much more. And so we'll see what's able to be done. But right now, Aurelia's getting chosen, getting these buffs, moving back in, and gonna be going into the Draven. And this is gonna be an important showdown because if Aurelia can win this, then can go up 2 points and be able to really start to take the game against the Draven.
Jacob also has only 1 energy up, so Irelia does know that there isn't much Draven can do with 1 energy. But there's the switcheroo. Now let's see if the switcheroo pays off. Looks like it doesn't, and that's not so fast. And that's also the risk of keeping Draven there. Chooses to use the Draven's ability, I assume. So gets the +2. Okay, so the switcheroo was reacted to the I always get them mixed up, but the reverse row trigger, so you can react to the trigger, and the switcheroo happened before the defend trigger, yes.
And another thing as well to explain, I decided to, basically, when you defend, you can decide to give the +2 as well.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that in case I would get charmed in, for example, and then I could then pay another red rune to give myself another 2. So it's kind of like a protection for the future.
Yep, and that's a very cool part of Draven that you can basically use the ability infinite times. It's rare, but sometimes it will catch your opponent off guard. Getting to, I have even seen a +6 Draven from Draven's ability alone.
Yeah, it's something that can really catch your opponent off guard, and especially when they leave 2 up, and you can utilize stuff like fight or flight after you've already won one of your combats with Draven, for example, and then immediately move over to the other battlefield, and Draven's like, hey, I'm back, how's it going? and stuff like that is what makes Draven so difficult to try to defeat here. But I mean, Aurelia's been doing a really good job on being able to get these answers, being able to utilize the movement and the power here. Now, we still got to try to maintain a high amount of cards in hand. We got to make sure that we don't have low rune counts. And right now, we're seeing that Aurelia is able to do both incredibly well. So it looks like Reaver's Row will be activated here, and the Aurelia will run away. But that's okay. We already have the advantage here, and we'll see what Jacob is going to be able to do to try to keep this momentum going now.
And one thing
I
as
don't
well
think
to say, to interrupt as well, when attacking with Draven, you can put, so when I defend resolves and then when I attack resolves, So
Mhm.
you can put the +2 of Draven on the stack of Reaver's Row, and then your opponent will decide if the When I Defend resolves, so they can move back, and then you can just refuse to pay the rune to give yourself the +2. So you can basically put it on the stack, and then call your opponent's bluff. Are they going to
Yeah.
recycle, or are they not going to recycle?
Oh, that's a cool
And-
interaction.
I do think the taking Irelia off from the reverse row was the right play. There's no reason for you to take the risk right now if you're Irelia, because you were points ahead, and technically you still are, even though it is tied in points. You're basically one turn ahead in points, because you can obviously conquer again next turn, and you're ahead in points again and again and again. So Irelia is still, Draven is still kind of playing from behind, so there's no reason for Irelia to make any crazy moves here. Probably should try to utilize their GA or Zonia soon, because your GA and Zonias are useless if you don't use them up somehow, and it's gonna make it so tough for Jacob to kind of do anything when they just know that Irelia is gonna get saved twice, especially.
Well, and this is going to be a very important showdown. We saw the Ride the Wind in the hand of Aurelia. So if Draven is able to at least win this combat, he has 4 runes up. You're leaving that up for a reason. And it looks like the Rebuke is going to be coming in. Now we'll see if there's any kind of response here. Might be another not so fast. And that looks like exactly what's going to be played here. That's a tough. Good counter for this game. And so, you got to just be very careful about how to go about that. Now, luckily, we've been able to see what Reaver's Row has been able to do, the protection that it's been able to have. But if you're just swinging in 2 points each every single time, well, Aurelia already has this advantage. And so we'll see what might be able to be utilized to get Jacob ahead in this game. Otherwise, if you just keep swinging for 2 points every turn, then Aurelia is going to win out.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's crazy how down bad Jacob is in the runes department. They have 2 seals in game from like turn 3. The Irelia deflect is just so oppressive that even with the 2 seals, Jacob is still deramping almost each turn, which is pretty crazy.
So
and
yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
I was just about to say you can sometimes also kind of bait out stuff from the Irelia player. Play, for example, a fight or flight on the Irelia to try to bait out a defy or something. And if they don't use anything, you can kind of deny paying the deflect, and that way you can bait out things. It's a very weird interaction, but
it is a very
Irelia
weird.
He's attacking.
But this is going to be a big showdown here too, and at the same time, you're still maintaining a lot of good mobility. Now, the biggest thing that you can sometimes capitalize on when going against Aurelia is exactly what you were saying in baiting out a lot of the responses, because if Aurelia is able to be tapped out, then you are able to completely do what you want freely here. And so this is going to be an important showdown, and I love that the Spinning Axe is able to come in now, adding +3 to the Rasa, and then we'll see what's going to be done here, because Aurelia, even still being at a +6, that's still, I don't think necessarily going to be enough here, but we at least have a lot of the gear needed to be able to survive. And it looks like even an additional response with a fight or flight, pushing the Noxus Hopeful back to base.
And now the Spinning Axe is also gone, which should seal the deal right now. It is looking pretty favored for Irelia. If Jacob now gets another Rebuke, that could save the game here. So let's not count Jacob out right yet, but right now it's looking pretty favored for Irelia, I would say.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difficult part. The Aurelia has been able to continue to maintain the rune count, the answers needed, and the biggest thing I would say that has really made a big impact has been the not-so-fasts here. And again, this is a great opportunity where it's like, well, yeah, you were able to get a point here. Great job on moving in with the Noxus Hopeful, but Aurelia is still alive. And so now here we go in with the Ezreal, and it's like, all right, well, you know, we still have a Ride the Wind with Aurelia. We have a lot of options here on trying to get things going, and we are getting the Rosses in, which is really good. But I feel like that in this particular matchup, with Miracle Draven, we have severely underutilized the battering rams, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that might have cut Jacob a little bit short in this match. But, you know, still very well played at 6-6, and we could still see that Jacob has some good answers in defending here with 4 runes up to stop Aurelia.
Yeah, last turn would have been insane if Jacob could have punished Irelia somehow, because Irelia was fully tapped out. Didn't find the Rebuke. So we're going to have to see how Jacob defends this Irelia's next attack, because Irelia is probably looking to end the game this turn.
Yeah,
should we just take Ezreal back?
Yeah, and so, again, though, we have the 4 runes up. That's not going to necessarily mean, maybe in particular, like a hard bargain or something. I mean, that would be very costly, especially if that was able to be played and still responded to, which it looks like it could. You could do a Ride the Wind and hard bargain for 4 and still be able to move over to the other battlefield, but you wouldn't have any answers at this point. So we'll see what's able to be done, as a sneaky deckhand actually is going to be left behind here. So kind of an interesting play, but I like it.
It's probably for the hold. Okay, so choose to go for the hold, yeah. The funny thing about hard bargain, if Jacob used it twice there for 4 energy, it could have still been defied with only 1 energy, which is pretty funny. But Jacob is now back in the game, because that turn from Irelia was pretty slow. You can really see that Irelia is having some draw problems right now. I don't know if they're running 3 stack decks. I haven't seen a lot of stack decks from Irelia. And we saw some battering rams for Jacob. So could this be the bushwhack into 20 might turn?
It almost needs to be, but even then, I would be playing that. No, I don't know if I would necessarily be playing that before the Ezreal, but even still, that extra 3 might be a big difference. The difficult part, though, too, is going to be Aurelia still has the 3 runes up on the pass, and that's going to be a quick defy and a pay of the deflect there. And so now here we go with a hard bargain moving in. And he is going to be able to take care of that with the Ezreal covering the cost here.
Yeah. Okay, but how... Irelia still has 2 up, so they could punish this Ezreal and they use Rebuke on it. Maybe there's another hard bargain. Okay, there isn't one. So...
Yep, that's going to be the GG right there. And a very...
I was just about to say the sneaky deckhand was just the MVP of this match.
I must say, I got absolutely wrecked game 1. It was insane. It was so difficult, and then the second game, I just got not so fasted non-stop. But thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. It was Silent Knight and Batsu on the microphone. Nice. Okay, I muted you guys. Okay, sick. That was such a sad game for me, by the way. You don't understand how I felt. And also, this is when I was still learning how to play Miracle. So, like, the first game, I didn't play Draven turn 2, which I should have. And then the second game, I was like, okay, I won't make that mistake. And I got not so fasted. I got, like, I don't know. My brain just farted so much.
But if you had played the reverse row in game 1, I think you could have had it maybe. The Ezreal would have been fine, and then you wouldn't have taken the risk for just because of a sneaky deckhand.
Well, we're gonna have a really fun matchup now. We're gonna have an Ezreal versus a Batsu hook.
Ooh.
Oh, that's beautiful. But it is probably an older version. I haven't updated the list in a long time.
They took a lot of inspiration from your deck. I believe they also changed stuff up.
Okay,
and
good.
They wreak havoc in our locals.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me just load the videos in. Let me ignore what you see on for now. I'm just setting up the the correct recording.
We can still see your stats at the top. You're sad.
Oh yeah, I know.
Sad.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad. Is this the correct person? Let's see. No, that's the incorrect person. Let me fix that.
Okay.
Change.
We don't want no Ezreal players
60.
here. Of course, the Ezreal player is on the side of the previous Draven. Are
this is
the
also
villains
free
on the
matchup.
left? Are the villains on the left and the heroes on
Yeah.
the right, or what's?
Well, let me tell you this. I went 4-0 in my locals as Lucian last week.
Okay, big.
And I beat a Miracle Sivir, I beat a Rek'Sai, I beat an Azir, and I also beat an Ahri, and I recorded the Ahri game.
Oh, nice. Nah, all
Man,
right.
I do like Lucian. I think it has some fun combos, and it can be surprising for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially if you
Void
can
Gate
get the Trinity Force and everything going, then that's a GG.
Oh yeah, the Trifinity combo. Yeah, that came out many times. That came out so often. I once was gonna lose against a Miracle, and I had no cards in hand, so I walked in to get my I walked into a battlefield. I couldn't score, and I had like literally nothing. So I walked in, drew a card, and I drew Merciless, Relentless Pursuit. Sorry, and then I managed to top deck that to play it, and then move to the other battlefield and win.
Yeah. The better right to win.
Exactly. And let me just type in the name of this player. This is Soul Catcher.
Ooh.
Okay, cool. And then let me put the correct
He's a very butt hook looking player because I'm also bald.
I guess the hook players are just bold.
It's a requirement.
Maybe it's you, Batsu. Batsu face reveal.
I mean, I'm gonna see you guys in France, so.
Hell yeah.
You're not gonna see me in France.
Oh,
We need to see you in France one day.
Yeah, I need to get over there. I need to get a passport.
Yeah.
Alright, the flow will be the exact same. Let me just get to the point where they fist bump and start the game, and then you'll be free to start. And then once the game, the series finishes, I'll hop in and end it.
Okay.
When are they fist bumping? Okay, here.
No.
Alright,
No fist bump?
I'll get it started. Welcome back, everybody. Here is another round from a Nexus night where we're going to see Reggie versus Soulcatcher. So it's going to be Ezreal versus Fiora, heavily inspired by Batsu's hook.
Oh, that's so beautiful. This is the star of the show right here.
No, Batsu, I think, is going to be very happy here with watching a little bit of Hook. If you've ever seen his live streams, you know that's his bread and butter right there. And this is going to be a good matchup. And I really love what Ezreal has been able to bring to this meta. Now, Fiora's going to want to get going pretty fast here. You're going to be wanting to score some early points because if Ezreal is able to get going into that mid-late game, that's when Ezreal really shines. And so this is going to be a tricky situation, but a really fun matchup.
It's probably going to be a battle of attrition. Can Ezreal kind of make the Fiora run out of steam? Or will the Fiora get the right combos off and just outrun Ezreal by just having the units, and sometimes even if the Bellows Breath kills 6 of your units, if you have the right hand, you don't care because you play Matron and you instantly have 4 more units on board. So I would even go ahead and say this is Fiora favored just because of a riposte.
Okay, that's an interesting take too, but no, I definitely can see the argument there for that. But I still, even with the signature spell that Aurelia is able to utilize here, you only have 3 of those. Not only that, though, Fiora, all ending with an A, it's the same thing. Anyway, but with Fiora is that she can struggle with the card draw. You have like the hidden blade, but you have to use that on your own units, and you have maybe a couple of other pieces, but otherwise you're not necessarily able to get a lot of cards in hand.
And I can instantly see this is they have Ravenbloom on board by Ezreal, so this is not the famous Alan's Q list, at least. Probably some kind of a more control heavy, but still more unit heavy than some of the other Ezreal lists. And Fiora gets the famous Seal Vanguard Captain. It wasn't turn 1, so it's not that crazy, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that we do have to be watching out for, usually when you are running a more hook-heavy deck, that means you are going to be running the Vanguard Captain combos, and also might even be sneaking in a couple of Call of the Weeks, which is a card that can absolutely devastate in this meta. And there we go with a great momentum here, moving in with a Xin Zhao being able to be ready and moving in with 4 might.
And the important thing here is that Xin Zhao does have tank, so if they go ahead and fight for the Ezreal, the Ezreal has to kill the Xin Zhao first. Xin Zhao also gets Mighty on the War Camp, so this should be a rune channeled by the Fiora, so a pretty good tempo turn.
Yeah, definitely, and especially the thing that worries me though is usually when you're extending Ezreal like this, you might be trying to, or you normally have maybe something to be saving him, protecting him, or you have a second Ezreal in hand, so you're okay with him being expendable here. And even with all that, it looks like, yeah, the retreat's going to be coming in. Kind of a surprising card here. You see that in a couple of Ezreal decks, but you're being able to channel a rune and then replay and draw another 2 cards. I don't know. It seems like something good to give up a point for.
It's pretty good. I mean, that's basically the second Ezreal. The recall. But yeah, Ezreal having the seal on board, especially, is gonna make this really tough for the Xin Zhao. I think with the value Ezreal has right now with the seal plus retreat, this should be Ezreal's game right now. And I mean, Fiora is entirely tapped out here, so Ezreal could try to go ahead and punish that right now. Just replace the Ezreal like Silent just said. So.
Yeah, well, and that's going to be the nice part, and one thing that I absolutely love about the hook version, and we've even seen regular Fiora running this as well, where you're starting to run the Spectral Matrons so that you can get back your Fiora, because a lot of times where you really fall short is, well, you took out my Fiora, now I can't accelerate out my mighty units, and I'm running so much slower and falling behind. And it's like, cool, well, Spectral Matron, boom, it's back. All right, cool, let's get going again.
And yeah, Spectral Matron is just so versatile in general. If you're playing red, you can even take Rek'Sai back from Spectral Matron. You can obviously take Xin Zhao in Fiora. And it's almost good in every scenario. Do you need more units? Play Vanguard Captain. Do you need acceleration? Play Fiora. Or maybe play the Xin Zhao. And sometimes the Fiora champion kind of baits out your enemy to use a ton of resources just to get rid of that 3 might unit. It's at the end of the day, it's only 3 might. And then when your opponent uses a ton of stuff, you just play the Matron and get it back anyways. So it's a very good bait unit. The Fiora champion has the BF sword here, so I'm very excited to see if Fiora gets the good old unsung hero on board. That is a very good card, especially against Ezreal, where draw is key.
Yeah, now one thing that I do worry about, though, is 4 runes at the ready. I mean, we got Frigid Touch, we got Wages of Pain, we got a million different answers that we could potentially have, and Bellows Breath here also being repeated. Ezreal can help cover that cost there. And not only that, it's on Void Gate. That's going to be 1 additional damage per strike here.
But still only focuses on 1 unit. I think there like a... Do you think this is worth it? Do you think this is worth it?
The hard part is in this case, yeah, because it looks like they're discussing amongst themselves, trying to maybe better figure out how this is going to actually interact properly here. I do feel like it is a little bit of a hard situation here, but even with all that, the signature spell is going to be countering that. That will be adding one additional might to a unit of choice. So it could even be picked on the Fiora. That would then make her mighty, and if you hadn't already channeled a rune, you could in this case. So there's some really cool tricks that you're able to get with this deck to be able to channel runes, but that signature spell is so powerful.
I think they're probably thinking of how much does the signature spell give might here, because the Bellows Breath was repeated. So maybe they're thinking if the riposte gives 1 or 2 might. It does only give 1 might, only looks at the printed cost. So I have seen the repeat stuff make especially new players a little confused on some of the cards.
Well, and that can be one of the more exciting and also maybe difficult parts about the game is that, yeah, you could be even playing this game for months now and still run into something, a unique situation that you're like, wait, how does that actually interact here? You know, I didn't think that Fiora's signature spell does it, you know. And so that's one thing that I love about this game, but that's also one thing that can be rather confusing in certain situations.
Yeah, especially because there are some differences between how cards are treated. Like Hook looks at the might of the unit you kill as of right now, but not the printed might. But then, for example, Defy looks at the printed cost. So there are some differences between cards, which is probably gonna make it even more confusing for some. But we could also be looking at a Watcher soon. But we have a smaller unit, but equally as scary in my opinion. Fizz is only for 3 energy. It's pretty strong.
Yeah, it definitely is really strong here in the sense of what it's able to get done here. And that's what surprises me is that Fizz is maybe a little bit slept on. It's definitely found its place in the meta, but it's not necessarily utilized as much as I thought it would be for the ability. But even still, we are able to see what Frigid Touch is going to be able to do here. And maybe now the Ezreal is going to be able to attack in and potentially get a much needed point here for Ezreal.
Yeah, well, the easiest way to compare Fizz to other cards is that Fizz only costs 10 cents right now, which is crazy. Because if you compare it to Origins cards, okay, there's the punch first. So let's focus on that first. There's the punch first. I do want to see how Ezreal responds to this. With a Stupefy, they probably have something else, I would assume. Okay, they don't. So either Ezreal is having a very weird hand, or they're just taking unnecessary risks, in my opinion.
Yeah,
uses Wages of Pain.
And that can be kind of the tough part about this here is sometimes when you do have a little bit of a mistake that might be made, or you know, a little bit of a misplay, or you just didn't calculate something in this case and you get a little bit punished, you sometimes feel like you're maybe a little bit further behind than what the reality actually is. Now, still at the same time, Soulcatcher has really built up his board state here and has a very dangerous couple of units to be able to use. Not only that, you have to be worried about the BF sword, where it's like, well, okay, if Vanguard Captain ends up getting killed, that just goes right back to base, and that could be another 3 added to a unit, and you can just keep on swinging. And so it's a tough situation, but even with Wages of Pain, that seems like that there was a couple of spells here that just were not utilized optimally.
Yep. okay, there's the set, a very good staple card in orange, and the biggest problem right now for Ezreal is that with the Fiora champion on board, combined with the BF sword, like you just said, you can almost accelerate anything, which is probably the biggest problem right now. And
Yeah.
I do want to see Fiora pull back their units here, just to play around the Watcher, because that would be the right play, but chooses to go for the hold.
Well, and the hardest part here with the Trifarian War Camp is that is a perma ability, essentially, where as you stay here, you get the +1. Now, that's the tricky part, because when the Thousand Tail Watcher comes in, it minuses 3, and the Trifarian War Camp is not nearly as effective at that point, because it doesn't add +1 on top of the -3. It's just automatically calculated. So that's why, yeah, in this case, especially being so far ahead, it's like, yeah, maybe we should pull back. It's 5-2, and let's see what kind of responses you have. So a bit of a risk here, but we'll see if Reggie's going to be able to capitalize.
And I mean, if they do get punished, at least it's a good lesson, you know? sometimes when you lose that certain card, you're gonna remember that for the rest of your TCG careers. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise sometimes.
Well, and this is one thing that I really like what Riftlabs is doing here in capturing the local Nexus Knights, because I do feel like that this is a much bigger tell of where a lot of our meta is. There's the Watcher. That's going to be minusing 3. This is going to be a big turn now. But again, this is what I love about the meta here, is that we're able to take a look at what the local metas are looking like. That someone is bringing, you know, a Fiora hook in and being able to give good games to Ezreal, whereas that's something that we're not necessarily going to be able to really see a lot at the regionals events.
Yeah. Chooses not to accelerate the Watcher. I would imagine they kind of maybe misunderstood how WarCamp works. Maybe they think that the WarCamp still gives the +1 over the Watcher's debuff, because I don't see a reason why they would not accelerate the Watcher here, except maybe they play around the set, attacking the Watcher next turn.
Yeah, maybe not wanting to necessarily have to sacrifice that. You can't imagine how many cards
they pass.
Ezreal has in hand. Yeah, so Ezreal doesn't necessarily have a whole lot probably in hand, and so keeping the Thousand Tail Watcher back, then to be able to attack into the set at this point, that's the only thing that I could maybe see on why you would want to keep it back. At the same time, though, something needs to become mighty here with set. Because especially with only one orange out, you're not going to be worried about the punch first. And looks like everything actually is going to be sent here. This is going to be a full pay. And is this going to be a dragon coming in? Yep, it is. And so that's going to be immediately pinging the Thousand Tail Watcher, and there is nothing that can be done about that.
Yep. I mean, I do think Ezreal could have cleared the whole battlefield of Fiora. Fiora goes to 7 here. I mean, second Watcher could still do the job. So maybe they're 2 steps ahead. Maybe they're baiting out the hold from Fiora. I mean, that would be pretty funny. But I think the biggest positive on these Riftlab videos is that you also see the level of like casual normal players. Because sometimes when you watch the best of the best, you can get a wrong idea of like certain decks and certain metas even. If you compare local metas to some Alan's Q list, for example, the Alan's Q list is so hard that I have never seen it locally, you know. So seeing these games is it's refreshing also. I think it's very refreshing in my opinion.
Well, and you can also tell that Fiora with Soul Catcher piloting is very comfortable with this deck, knows the lines. I really like what he did at the end of the turn in Voidgate with the set where he spent the buff,
True.
went down to 4 might, then it went up to 8 might, so you were able to channel a rune. That's then going to be the second body rune there. Then was able to accelerate out because of the Fiora on board and move it right back to base so that it can live to fight another day. Very great combo right there, and something that I love to see, because sometimes those lines are very tricky to find.
Yeah. But if they used the buff to ready set again, they shouldn't have the buff on the set anymore, because the using the buff is slow speed, and you can only use it after conquering if you want to ready set up again with the buff. So there might have been a little mistake there. But I mean, they're gonna win by holding as of right now anyways, so I don't think it was any game breaking stuff. Ezreal going for the Void Gate. Doesn't look like they're gonna break the bottom battlefield, and that does look like the game for hold, and Ezreal didn't even realize.
Yeah, sometimes that can be the tricky situation here where, yeah, you don't quite realize what your opponent is at 7. I've made that mistake at my locals, and it's like, oh, well, okay, well, I just really wanted to play out my board then. Have fun with that. But, I mean this...
you have 10 runes, so might as well use them and before you lose.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing that's going to be tricky, though, especially with Fiora. That was everything that Fiora was able to do without Hook.
Yeah.
Now if Fiora is going to be able to get Hook utilized into this game too, and then continue to build up its board state and just absolutely devastate the opponent here, this could be a very challenging game for Ezreal. Now on the flip side, though, there is no Trifarian War Camp anymore, and that is such a powerful card here for the Fiora Hook.
I'm excited to see what they have for game 2. I was told they had the Fiora had made some adjustments to the list, Fiora list, which is good because at least the list I have made is a little outdated. I haven't updated it in a long time. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna play on game 2. And what do you think Ezreal's game 2 battlefield is gonna be?
That's gonna be the hard part. And gosh, what does Ezreal even play at this point? But because I mean, we do normally like to utilize
Targon's Peak.
Yeah, Targon's Peak can be a good answer here. The heart, yeah. I would say Targon's Peak. And
do Ezreal's play Reverse Row? I mean, this was the Miracle version, so I don't know.
Yeah, and so I could also maybe see Sigil of the Storm. That's been something that's been utilized a lot more with Ezreal to punish the more aggressive decks, to where it's like, all right, if you want to get these extra points, okay, you got to sacrifice a rune. And so that's something that I could definitely be seeing more.
And I do think the biggest problem of Void Gate is that you hardly ever get value out of it, because your opponent is obviously always going to play around the Void Gate, and your opponent's probably your opponent's whole game plan is just gonna to give you the least amount of value out of that battlefield. So maybe that's why we haven't even seen Void Gate a ton lately. Not even in the set 1 Kai'Sa we saw Void Gate.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen here. But, I mean, Reggie's got a little bit of work to do and a lot of game left to be played. Luckily, they still do have, 40 minutes left in the round, so that is going to be a big help in case they do need to go into the game 3. But, again, I mean, this is Fiora's game to take. There's a lot of lines that might be very tricky for Reggie to try to play around that can just continue to build that momentum and absolutely devastate any board state that Ezreal can put out.
Yeah. Even though we didn't see the most ideal lines out of Ezreal last game. I do still think it is a little favored matchup for the Fiora. That being said, I do think a good Watcher Bellows Breath can kind of blow out Fiora here, so I would be on the lookout for the Watcher especially because, like we saw in game 1 also, the Fiora didn't really play around the Watcher, so a good Watcher could really get us to game 3 here.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably the biggest thing is I think Ezreal didn't... It had a little bit of its card draw. You saw some stack decks and some called shots and things like that, but not nearly at the momentum that you normally expect from Ezreal, and so just wasn't able to quite get into that end game point to be able to really take that game back from Fiora. And so in this case, Ezreal is going to need to have to prioritize the card draw so that he can get the hand that he needs to be able to take the game to his opponent.
Ezreal chose to go first. You were right about the Sigil of the Storm. And what do you think about Sigil when you're going first? Because it could even punish you more than it punishes the enemy.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Well, and it also is interesting too because Ezreal, I think, is a turn 2 deck where you're running literally no 2 cost. You're running sometimes Ravenbloom Student, sometimes not, but that's 3 cards, that's a 2 drop. So the odds of you even seeing that isn't necessarily there, whereas most times your number 1 play is going to be let's get out Ezreal. But there we go with the Rocket Barrage, immediately going to be taking out the Fiora. Now, this is maybe a little bit risky, though. It's a great play, but we're now going to be at 5 runes for the Fiora and another chance to build up a board.
Yep, I do respect it, though. I do respect the Rocket Barrage. Ezreal having the balls to just show the Fiora that I'm not afraid to just kill all of your units and just... kind of threatening the Fiora to see if the Fiora can just kind of out value the Ezreal here. So are they gonna get enough units? They got 2 on the board. They also played Seal. Now that's a pretty slow start from the Fiora, and this Xin Zhao, Unsung, and Seal does make it so... Oh, the pickpocket. Oh my. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, so far, the Ezreal has been able to get the answers going pretty quickly off the bat. Now, at the same time, even with a Pit Pocket, that is only going to be a 3 might unit. You can take out the Unsung Hero still, but if maybe a BF Sword or something comes down, then you're really going to have to be hoping for some Stupefies or Frigid Touches to help you win these combats here.
And that's just how crazy Unsung Hero actually is, because a lot of the times you see us saying that if the Unsung gets the BF Sword, the game is gonna be very hard for the opponent. And keep in mind, it's just a 2-drop, which is kind of silly.
Yeah, but it has so much value there. Now, of course, you are trying to count on the fact that you're able to get a Unsung Hero with a BF Sword. And I gotta say, I also really like the Mixologist coming in because, man, that, when it dies, can go ahead and get right back your Fiora.
The Mixologist is kind of like raw right now, so there's no units in the trash. So if Ezreal can snipe the Mixologist somehow, it's gonna be a little annoying for the Fiora. That being said, 5 might is a lot, especially from in base. The Ezreal champion comes out, obviously, getting played from the gold token that the Pickpocket made. So the Pickpocket is a pretty good counter to Seal decks.
No, it definitely is, and a great side deck in from the Ezreal, and to even be able to find it early in game. Well done there. And so at the same time, though, we only see 1 unit out right now, and there is a chance that we are still going to be able to see not a pickpocket, a punch first potentially coming in. You always have to be fearful of that one rune at the ready for Fiora, because if you attack in and think, hey, I can play a Frigid Touch, can you though? Is that really going to make an impact when I have a punch first?
Yeah, but I gotta give it to the Ezreal. At least they already got some value out of the Sigil of the Storm, so that's a positive.
So we'll see, though. But this is going to be a big turn from Ezreal, and one that definitely needs to be calculated very carefully here.
Yeah.
We still, of course, have the
have
4 runes up, but we got to start getting points.
Yeah, true. Okay, so Wages of Pains, the unsung hero. A little unfortunate that Ezreal doesn't have a seal on board right now, because they could use their seal twice this turn with the Veiled Temple, which could be something. They can also ready the gold here, which they do. Maybe they'll get some value out of that. The only problem, the biggest problem of this play is that now Fiora finally has a unit in their trash, so they technically made the Mixologist a little bit stronger here.
Yep, and that's going to be the interesting part about this. There's only 1 rune at the ready, so maybe a Stupefy. That's not going to be enough on the pickpocket.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, it's either probably a Stupefy or a stack deck. Either way, I'm okay with attacking in on this. Even if you do kill the Mixologist, okay, cool. Let me get my Fiora back, or anything else for that matter that might have died. And still a really great conquer right there.
Yeah, I did forget Fiora is in the trash, my bad. But do you think the 1 point is valuable enough to kill your unit off, just basically your only unit, because you don't want your Ezreal to die, and now you just have no other units on the board anymore?
I do feel like it was a desperation move, but right now, I mean, we are still playing such an interesting game here. Even the fact that we have a Spectral Matron now that's coming in, and he chose the unsung hero even over his own Fiora, but at the same time, he has the momentum here. He doesn't necessarily need the acceleration of the Fiora necessarily, especially with the seal being gone. And so it's like, all right, well, here we go. Almost like a death by 1,000 cuts here, where I'm just going to keep building up momentum and saying, what can you do about that, Ezreal?
The interesting thing here is that I don't think Fiora has used their legend once this game, which is sometimes a little annoying. I think that's the strength of Darius sometimes, is that you always have the Darius legend. You can have games with Fiora where you just almost never use the Fiora legend at all. But I do think the biggest problem of Fiora is the cards, not the runes per se in this matchup. So we're just gonna have to see if Fiora is gonna run out of cards, especially when Ezreal itself has so many runes up. Like, they can just start blasting right now.
Yep.
And they did.
So, and I mean, starting with an Arcane Shift is going to just be so powerful. There's going to be 6 damage dealt because, of course, you're going to be picking the Fizz to blip out, blip back in. Then Fizz is going to be able to play a spell of its own. And so, boom, here we go. Let's start clearing up the board state here. Now, this would have been such a great combo on the Void Gate, but unfortunately, that's not going to be utilized. But now he actually has the 2 targets needed to be able to utilize the Ezreal Legend ability and drawing that 1 card.
Yep. What did they kill? Or did they just...
Oh, they're about to kill.
So they... Yep. So they did 3 damage to 2 people, and 2 units, and then they gave them minus stats with the Frigid Touch. Unfortunate for the what's really unfortunate for the Fiora here is that they still don't have anything to get the draw out of Unsung Hero. So I mean, we could be looking at Fiora running out of units at this rate.
Yeah, and the tricky part with that too, though, is I'm still feeling as though we have a punch first in hand, and so might be that we are trying to do a stack deck. But I don't think there is a Wages of Pain that yeah, because there's only 2 runes left. Keeps looking like there's a third. I'm trying to count it, but it looks like we'll be committing this Ezreal into that anyway, and then here we go.
Oh, it's the instant punch first. And this also makes Unsung Hero mighty. So we get the rune back and we possibly get the 2 draw. Now let's hope Ezreal played around it and we see... Okay, we see a switch to Rue.
Now that's the answer right there. And again, the Unsung Hero, very well played right there, will not be getting the +2 card draw there. And instead will be a dying and an Ezreal getting a much needed point.
I think the biggest thing here would almost be finding a Vanguard captain to then maybe have it die somehow and then getting another Vanguard captain from the Mixologist. That would that would refresh your board, and now that I think about it, it still wouldn't save you because of Bellows Breath.
Yeah.
I always forget about that card, and sometimes it just feels very bad.
Well, and the nice part is, though, one thing that I love about Punch First in Fiora is because you are able to make something mighty. So it really mitigates almost the power cost that Punch First is able to have to use. Still, though, having that Hound come in, that is not what you want to have going for you. And so we're going to be hoping maybe that the Glass Mixologist is going to be able to start getting things going again if it does end up falling, that it can get like a Fiora back in, and then you can play Set and rush him, and get those combos going, because right now it's like, well, Reggie might start catching up, especially as we start seeing a called shot coming in.
Yeah, I can imagine how bad it feels when you have 2 cards in hand and your opponent is just looking through 4 cards with 1 power.
No, that's exactly right. And I can definitely understand why, Called Shot is just such a powerful card. I really wonder if it would be or as utilized if it just didn't have the repeatable ability here. But that repeat, being able to draw 2 cards out of 4, is just such a powerful asset for your deck.
Yeah. And what could save Fiora here? I think maybe fighting the baited hook could do wonders, but could it save the game here? You could find Dragon from it by killing the Mixologist, and that could get you somewhere, That's a good start.
Yeah, because, if you kill the Mixologist, you get Fiora back, you find a Dragon, you kill the Vex, you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big hope here. But at the same time, we have not seen that yet. And I think that's going to be the biggest question. It's like, well, where's the hook? And
playing baited hook Fiora without baited hook. So technically just playing Fiora.
Yeah, exactly. And so still has had some really good answers so far, though, and been able to really take the game to a top-notch deck. And even still, with looking at these board states, you wouldn't necessarily think that, Fiora's at 6 points, but we are so close to potentially 2-0ing. So it really might just be that final step needed to be able to get that upper hand against the Ezreal and finish out this game.
Yeah, and the biggest thing here is that because Fiora is at 6, they can always kind of threaten with, for example, a Matron. So if they pull all of their units back, unfortunately they did not. They just went all in. They just went all in, but they could have pulled everything back. If they have Matron in hand, they can just play Matron and buff something and accelerate it instantly. So I do think Fiora maybe needs to slow down the pace, maybe sometimes pull your units back, take it slow. Singularity did get played, which now your dog, the Ramhound, just kind of dies for nothing. I mean, what does it even do on the battlefield? You don't even have enough orange runes to even play punch first.
Yeah, and it's like, even at that point, at this, I'm really kind of anticipating a hidden blade. I feel like he left those 3 runes up. He didn't hide anything necessarily, and at that point, maybe in a good job, but doesn't look like even has maybe a hidden blade at this point.
Yeah. Oh, and now the cold shot gets played for free. So what's better than 1 power looked through 4 cards, 0 power looked through 4 cards.
And that's one of the most powerful things about Vex and why it was able to make such an impact in this meta. It's like, all right, cool. Well, now that I attack in, everything will go down to a minimum of 1 for me and a lot more expensive for you, where it's like, if you want to rebuke my Vex, that's going to be 3 and 3 power. And it's like, ooh, that hurts.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the Fiora list would counter Vex pretty bad because you can just kill your units off at the battlefield, so Vex really never gets to be in a showdown, like, ever. Well, if you don't have Hook, then the story is a little different. A set would go a long way here for the Fiora.
Yeah, I really feel like at this point the set would just be able to lock down the game here. We still have a little bit of a situation on how do we try to take over both battlefields this turn, but even still, being able to take down the Vex with a set or anything for that matter, just taking a battlefield and being able to draw that extra card might be that final piece needed to be able to win out this game.
Oh, the other dog. Oh man, these couple draws have been pretty awful for the Fiora, I can imagine.
Yeah.
What could they be playing next?
Oh, there's
BF
something that's
sword.
needed though.
That is an acceleration, but place it on the Fiora. Now, I don't. Can the Fiora take the risk and attack Vex? No. Oh, but true, they can de-equip the sword with the Veiled Temple and equip it to the dog. Well, not anymore because it got factory recalled, so...
But that is going to be a trade at that point, and unfortunately, not enough runes to be able to replay and attach. And so far, the Ezreal's been able to do a really great job with the side decking, and you're able to see what kind of impact that it's been able to make, because right now we could be going into a 7-7 scenario, and if there's any Rosses that are potentially added into the battlefield, that could just be more insult to injury here and a very difficult situation for Soulcatcher to come back from.
Yeah, I do think Factory Recall is probably one of the most underplayed cards in the whole game. Like, even though it only returns a gear, it's only 1 energy. So it's basically costs nothing to do a lot of things, you know?
Yeah. No, and I really like it, though, too, because it can be utilized so much in a gear-heavy meta. You're going against a, Fiora. It can be utilized to unequip a BF sword. If you're going against an Aurelia, you can take out a Guardian Angel. And a Fiora or an Aurelia that thinks she is safe with a Guardian Angel now will fall, and oops, well, there we go. That's the game. So I love Factory Recall. I run it in my purple decks, at least one, because it can make such a big impact.
Goes to 7. What can save Fiora here? I do think Fiora, chooses to play Salvage on this seal. How many runes do they have left after this Salvage? Because I do think they have 8 runes next turn, which is still a possibility of playing the Matron plus BF Sword. So I think that's like the only line that could save Fiora here.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. And even still, you don't.
You don't
have the unit counts here, so That was a
It's very
great hard
unlikely.
bargain. Yeah, that was a great hard bargain right there against the salvage, because again, you're stopping Soul Catcher from getting an additional card in hand, and you know, Fiora feels a lot like what Set was in Set 1. I'm going to be doing your analogy now for a completely different game, where Set was a very top-heavy deck where you didn't have a lot of card draw, but man, when you were able to draw, that could be a very powerful card because you had so many solid answers there. Whereas Ezreal, it's like, well, I need to draw so much because I don't nearly have as many answers as I necessarily need.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how like the decks with the very strong and very explosive cards, they're only locked behind of always having a very limited amount of draw. So maybe someday, if for example, yellow gets a lot of draw, maybe we could be looking at yellow meta someday. Big copium.
Well, and I do agree with you that yellow might need a little bit more card draw than like a hidden blade and things like that. But you know, if you are able to get that, there's going to be so many more answers that you're able to draw. I mean, we see that, you know, yellow has all the kill spells, has some really great gear destruction in it, and then you add card draw on top of that, and it's like, man, I want Fiora to be one of those top decks in the meta, because it just is such a cool idea that when something does become mighty, kind of like an alter, you know, volley bear in this sense, but it's like, let's actually make them mighty. Let's get them moving with Fiora, with accelerating in. We're using a lot of power, but we're able to do so incredibly well. And it's like, then if you add a little bit of card draw on top of that, ooh, sign me up. Like, come on.
you especially would love the yellow meta, being a OG Victor player.
Yep, definitely.
But I do love pickpocket in this meta. I think it's like I think it's on par with Fizz in Ezreal decks. Like, pickpocket can do so much from killing a gear early game, and it can almost always kill something. Like, almost every deck has either a gold or a seal.
Yep, even a gold for a gold is a very very valuable thing, because it's like, hey, guess what? Now I get the ability to supplement my power cost and you don't. So haha. But you know, and with that being said though, guys, we are going into game number 3 with just about 15 minutes left. So we might be going down to turns, but right now Soul Catcher running Fiora is gonna be taking it against Reggie running Ezreal, and we will see who is able to win out in this thrilling match. Batsu, we already know where your vote is.
And to add something else as well, Batsu, to interrupt you, the start time that we have for the recording, if the players maybe took 5 minutes to set up, then the time might be off by maybe 5 to 10 minutes maximum. So if this does go to overtime, then it could be that the actual round timer during the round is a little bit off. But this is basically the timer from when the game started, because you know sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get on the feature match and stuff like that.
Yep, definitely.
And just quickly, I was about to say Obelisk of Power is very risky in the Fiora, actually, because it does give Fiora a 100% turn 1 play with their champion on the champion zone.
Yep, but that's also the thing, is that Obelisk of Power is such a meta card now. And you know, last set we had Arena's Greatest, and now it all transitioned into Obelisk of Power, because it's like, well, we need that extra rune to be able to combat, you know, against the Draven decks, to try to give us that little upper hand advantage. And it's like, well, all right, well, now Fiora can capitalize.
I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek on what I have built for France. The biggest counter to Obelisk of Power actually is running Arena's Greatest yourself.
Ooh. Sign me up, Batsu.
But a pretty slow turn from Ezreal though, having 3 up, just playing the Raven Bloom and passing. Not even like killing the Fiora off with anything. Ooh, there's the set also, and does it get accelerated? I imagine it does.
Yeah, he
I
came
imagine
in
it
already
does.
readying it up, so it's like he felt
Yeah.
like he was already committed to that.
I do like the set's original art. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, I do too. Well, and it's so crazy here because over in America, set was at one point an $18 card, and it has
Oh
skyrocketed
yeah.
up to $45.
Yeah.
And it is holding. And so just absolute insanity there. But already
Oh, the
Rebuke
Rebuke.
coming in. That's gonna
I
be a
mean,
devastating
it is a
answer.
good tempo Rebuke, but there's a
Ooh!
riposte. So they kind of traded the power, and at the end of the day, the outcome was the same. So Seth killed the Ezreal.
Yep, but that is going to be a very devastating blow over to Reggie
Yeah.
because that is 2 runes sacrificed for nothing. And so right there, it's like, all right, there we go. So, we are able to get very many points. Then not only that, being able to use the buff to be able to draw a card and then use the Conquer ability. Very well done
Yep.
there. And right now, Soul Catcher has the momentum.
Yeah, Soulcatcher is going very aggressive and tempo here. I love the Fiora into accelerated set early. Like it's so insane. And I do think they knew what they were doing because they had exact energy for the riposte. So there was basically nothing Ezreal could have done to the set. Ezreal gets the second point, so that's at least something. It is better than the game one at least. I can't remember if Ezreal had more than one champion in their deck.
Yeah, and sometimes you do. And I've seen multiple deck lists where you do run 2, but
Yeah.
especially with Alan, for example, with his EU build at least, he only ran 1, and I think then in Vegas
Okay.
he ended up running 2.
Okay. So I guess the second Ezreal is kind of a safety net, and you can still find it pretty consistently with all of your cold shots and stack decks. Goes for the 8 might set attack, gets frigid touched. I wonder if there's a punch first in Fiora's hand. They are once again running low on cards, so only 4 cards in their hand. Is there a second riposte? Okay, so that is pretty tough for Ezreal.
So this is going to be a difficult situation, though. The set still being able to, of course, survive. Now, that's been 2 signature spells from Fiora. You only have 1 more to deal with, but even still at the same time, Ezreal's board state is done. There is only 2 cards in hand, 5 runes, and it's like, all right, cool. Well, what are we going to be doing at this point?
Yeah.
And this is such an uphill battle, and we'll see if Reggie's going to be able to come back from this.
So
Yep.
it looks like it was a GG. The
Yep.
cards drawn in hand were not what we want to see. But yeah,
Yep.
thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, sorry, I had to end it quickly because the recording finished straight away. Because I was watching the game waiting for it to finish, and I hit stop recording right when they said GG, but he had like nothing in hand, so he stopped it.
Okay.
So, for someone asking for a deck list, here it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let me
Also, Silent, if any of you see like a blue screen appear, that's because of the feed that I'm sending you. It's like a draw on feed, so it sometimes goes blue because it loses connection.
Yep.
But it should happen for like a second, and then it comes back usually.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a very old version of my list.
Interesting.
I have cut down to only 1 mixologist, and with the rally the troops, you could look to even take out 1 BF sword and put a Call to Glory in your deck to get some cheese out of your opponent. And
He's been playing Rally
Call-
the Troops quite a lot.
yeah, and Call to Glory does also make Unsung Hero mighty. So that having two BF swords, at the end of the day, having two BF swords does make your deck a little more consistent because it lessens the chance of drawing two BF swords. Drawing one is obviously amazing, but drawing two always feels pretty bad. So it is a risky card to have as a 3 of. Is my conclusion basically.
So as a note as well, we have another game from Soulcatcher Matt where he actually used Hook. So, but we will have that at a different day. Right now, if you're still down, Batsu, and if you're still not silent, I have a really hype Lucian game, which will take about 5 minutes to set up. But you're probably going to go to bed now, Batsu. So
I have to go to sleep.
Night.
Yeah.
Yes. So me and Silent will cover it. I'll have a lot of insight for the game because it's going to be me playing the Lucian. But yeah, Batsu, thank you so much for coming on to do this. And then I'm going to keep the other Fiora game for you to see as well, with more of an updated and changed deck list.
It did hurt me a little bit when they didn't play around Watchers. So let's hope they learned that, if anything.
Well, they were a massive Darius Hook player at the locals, and they managed to beat everybody with it in set one.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Well, we need to play some games, so get that going.
True.
Okay, good night.
All right. And Silent, I'm just downloading the file for the match, and it says it's going to take 5 minutes left because I had it on my laptop, so I just uploaded it. So it's currently downloading, and then we'll have it set up. But it should be pretty fun. It genuinely is a very, very enjoyable game to watch. So if people are fans of Lucian, then they're going to have a great time. They're going to have a great, great time.
So we need to get Blevins in here is what I'm hearing.
Probably.
It was so funny because yesterday during the tournament, the 25K, I messaged Blevins because as soon as he got off stream, a Lucian game came on. And I was like, bet that sucks. And he's like, I know, man. I'm hurting right now. I wish I was casting this game. So, it's a good time. All right.
Let's see how long is left here.
Let's see. And for those of you who are joining us, I'm helping out Riftlabs right now. I know we just got rated. Thank you, 20 Lore Pro. Really appreciate that. But yeah, so we're just casting a couple of local events here and helping out and getting some stuff. So if you want to watch these games after the fact, it will be on Riftlabs' YouTube channel. So stay tuned to that. They do a lot of really cool local stuff.
Hell yeah, thank you. Yeah, we try and get as many local games out there because, like Batsu said earlier as well, when people watch competitive or just games in general, you always see the top decks, top meta, everything. But at locals, it's very different. And I feel like a lot of the audience, right? There is a competitive audience, but there's also an audience where people go and they want to watch guides and they want to learn how to play. And then they'll go watch some competitive VOD. And they see their opponent playing so well, playing around this. But if you go into a local, someone will just run into you no matter how many runes you have open. And you gotta, you sometimes don't expect it. It's like when you, let's say, have a very high ranked player on an FPS game, and then some people who never played the game just run in, and the players are like, I would never expect anybody in their right mind to do that. I think it's kind of similar in Riftbound, which is nice. So you can go and kind of learn from how every kind of caliber of player plays, which is cool. And I feel like there is not much content around that. So we'll have skirmish stuff where we see the more competitive players. We have the normal Nexus nights, which we're looking at now. So it's always something a little bit different.
Yeah, no, and I really like that too, because I feel like there is also sometimes such a different meta now. Of course, there's always exceptions, but there's such a different meta at locals. I know for myself, it's I went against a Volley Bear round one yesterday at my locals, and then an Ari into what was my third one? Into an Azir. And it's when I went to Vegas, I went against 4 Aurora decks and Miracle decks, kind of thing. And so it's already so different than what we see. And I love that you guys are doing that local level.
Hell yeah. And for me as well, when I was playing Lucian, game 1 against Rek'Sai. Game 2, which is what we recorded, is against Ari. Game 3 was against Azir. And then game 4 was against the skirmish winner, Miracle Sivir, which I managed to beat, which was awesome. Because I drew some really cool combos. So this game is genuinely so entertaining as well, and I feel like I played it really well. So I'm like super hyped to like show it, and it says 1 minute 40 seconds left on the download.
All right, perfect. So yeah, guys, we are currently downloading the final game that we are going to be doing this cast. Again, I am helping out Riftlabs right now with commentating the local Nexus Night gameplay. So a lot of fun there, and thank you guys so much for being here. If you do want to see some awesome content, Riftlabs is the place to do it. So head over to their YouTube, give them a follow, and we'll see what happens. But Jacob, is there anything that you are looking forward to with Unleashed coming out? Anything that you're hopeful for?
I don't know. Like I really like the Miracle deck because I got to do so much in the turn, but then I played against Miracle players who would start writing down what I have in my hand after a sabotage, and then using a stack deck, and then a cold shot, and then I was like, I never want to play against a Miracle player again, and I despise myself for ever playing Miracle, so I decided to go to Lucian now.
Ooh, okay.
And maybe seeing what gets banned, the Miracle deck is gone, but I loved the interactivity that I had, so I'm hoping for Unleashed I can play a deck that's going to allow me to do a bunch of stuff. And also, I must say, I think playing Miracle has made me a bit of a little bit of a worse player because I would rely on drawing so many cards and having options. But now when I play stuff like Lucian, I have to think about what I have in hand, and I can't rely on knowing I'm going to draw like 5 more things. And then when I played Miracle and I couldn't draw those things, I felt like I was kind of trapped. So I think not playing Miracle will make me a bit better. And like play the game more properly, I think. But I really hope there's a deck that like is interactive. I can do stuff and like just interactive. I want something to be like just fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Pike. I'm hoping that Pike is going to be that style of deck because it just seems like he could have a lot of fun with it. I also hope that...
Do you know what Pike does in League, by the way? Do you play League of Legends?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Pike signature spell, I hope it's going to be something like, if you kill a unit using this, get yourself a gold token, right? For each unit you kill with this, a gold token. So imagine, if you go to a battlefield, and I think this could be a really cool Pike signature, and I'm predicting something like this, right? If there's damaged units on a battlefield, if they have 2 or more damage on them, you can execute them and make a gold token for each. I think that would be a really cool signature spell for Pike.
That would be cool. That would be interesting. Dang, that'd be a cool dynamic. And then I'm also hoping that they also create all the dragons as cards. Because this is jungle themed. And one thing that I'm also hoping too is that they have a lot of the jungle units in the sense of like the bugs
like
and and that they all have death knell abilities.
Oh my god, Scuttle Crab that gives you vision.
Yes. And if they all have death knell abilities that when they die or whatever, they give you a specific buff or ability, like that could be so cool, I think.
Oh my god.
So, but I don't know. This is all speculation.
Yes, it is all speculation, and I think it would be so cool. Oh, and also a cool thing, I'm using my new mat that I made in this video.
Cool. No more otters?
Let me set it up now. No more otters mat, because my 2-player mat arrived. Okay, and it fits the stream perfectly, I think. I'm just rotating it, and then I should be good to go. Okay, it fits perfect, because I designed the overlay around the mat, so now it's like actually working, which I'm pretty happy about. Let's zoom that in a little bit. Oh wow, yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Move that down.
Okay. Yep, so we should be starting here anytime, guys.
Yes, very
not too
shortly.
much longer. Yep, not too much longer. So
I would say about a minute.
So always like casting these Riftlab games, so let me know whenever you want to bother me. I'm always happy to help you out with
I would love to. I would love to every time. It's always a lot of fun, and I feel like I got a lot better as well in terms of the way I talk and stuff. So a lot of practice has been going into this.
Yeah. So
all right, I think I am ready to go with this. So let me hit reset. Let's cut over to this. Let's do like a... Oh, I put the Chinese feed on. Ignore the Chinese one. So as a note, for anyone watching, we also have this being recorded 1-to-1 in Chinese. So if you look, this is the English version, and then this is the Chinese version of the game. So for any Chinese viewers back at home, they can actually enjoy watching gameplay that has like stuff on the cards that will help them out, essentially. That's kind of the goal. So it's like more view friendly for like people across different regions, because yeah. And then you can see me trying to like shuffle, and it just failed, so I just gave up and decided to mix everything up.
That's almost as bad as putting the buff card in your sleeve.
Oh my god, that reminded me of that heresy. Okay, cool. Let me go to when we're starting and revealing the battlefields, and then I'll do the intro. Alright. Welcome back to some more Nexus Night coverage. Here we're going to be covering me playing Lucian, playing against Mislav, one of our local players, on Ari, which is going to be a real cool matchup. And with me, joining is Silent Knight. What up?
Well, it's going good, and I'm glad that we're able to see a little bit of Lucian Ari. It's a matchup that you don't necessarily see too much of, but I mean, definitely some really interesting interactions that can be happening here.
Yeah, and I started playing Lucian recently. This was actually my first Nexus Night. I missed the fist bump. Now I hit it. Battlefield-wise, we're going for Forge of the Fluff and also Grow the Godwillow. Forge of the Fluff, for anyone who doesn't know, while you control this battlefield, friendly legends have tap tangent equipment you control to a unit you control. So it's very good for Lucian because Lucian has a passive ability. And you can also see I went first and I had to pass because I didn't get a 2-drop. But in my second turn, I'm just playing a Kaiser just in my base.
And that can sometimes be a little dangerous, especially when you have to worry about maybe some charms or things like that, because I mean, the last thing you want is to give Lucian some extra card draw, especially in a deck that already struggles with card draw. And so it's like, all right, well, let's see what we're able to do here. And I gotta say, Ari's -1 as a legend ability is always so powerful, especially when you accompany that with what like Ravenbloom Student can do, where you get also a +1 for every spell that you do. So there's a lot of swinging of might here that you got to calculate so carefully when going against Ari.
And here we see coming out a Sona as well, a card that many people might not see, or have seen used before. While I'm at a battlefield, ready 4 runes at the end of your turn. So it's basically Annie on crack. So that means my opponent could just be playing on guards, could be playing flunks, which we see in their hand, and having 4 runes at the end of every turn is so strong. And one thing that we see as well here happening is my Kaiser going into Forge of the Flunk to conquer, drawing a card, earlier playing a Trinity Force in my base. Then that gives my Lucian the ability to equip something for free just by tapping it, so the Trinity Force does get equipped to the Kaiser.
Yeah, and already right there, that can be something to really catch your opponent off guard, where it's like, in this case, Ari has pretty much all of her eggs in one basket, and that's going to be on the Grove of the Godwillow. Now, that is a very powerful battlefield, being able to draw an extra card per turn. But when you're also scoring an extra point per turn, that can be something to absolutely shift the momentum into your favor.
And of course, the Kaiser being 4 might. With the Trinity Force, that's an extra 2, so a total of 6 might. However, Ari's ability giving anybody -1 who is attacking, and Lucian's ability giving everybody Assault 1 basically negates the effect of Ari. So if there was a charm to come in, especially with 2 runes being open, I could maybe attach a longsword. And if I was charmed in, then I basically have the ability to just be stronger on the attack. So the Ari player does need to play around that, and we see them retreating the Ravenbloom Student to base, playing a Yordle on the Grove of the Godwillow battlefield, and then playing an Ari Inquisitive over in base, which should hopefully help in the future.
And I really love the Lecturing Yordle in this case, because a lot of people forget that Lecturing Yordle has tank on it. And so the fact that you are able to now absorb essentially 2 damage, potentially more if there's any buffs that you're able to add to the Lecturing Yordle, you're protecting your Sona so much better. And I also got to say, man, Mislav playing the all overnumbered Ari. Come on, man. That looks so dang good right now.
When I played Fiora, I ran a 3-set Brawlers ON. I had the most blinged out deck. It was so much fun. And here we see the ability of the Trinity Force coming in. When I hold, score 1 point. So that means I get 2 points for holding. So it gives me a point lead against Ari. And here you see me retreating back into the base. I have so many runes available. And earlier as well, we saw there was a ruin runner in my hand.
And the Ruin Runner, I'm still on the fence sometimes about this card because it can be such a powerful asset in the fact that it cannot be targeted by spells and abilities, but you want to be able to play that when you already have somewhat of a developed board. Sometimes when it is your only unit that you're able to utilize, it just really slows you down here. But when you already have a developed Kaisa, you know, it's not nearly as bad. But there we go with what? A wallop potentially coming in.
A singular wallop in the deck. As you play this, you may spend a buff as an additional cost, which I do not have. And the second part is ready a unit. So the Kaisa being readied and then coming into the Grove of the God Willow. So a total of 4 plus 2 and then plus 2. So that's a total of 8 might. Then assault for each one, total of 10. So 10 might on the Kaisa and then -1 for the Ari ability. So a 9 might Kaisa coming into a Yordle and a Sona. And here we see a Fwonk coming in, which essentially stuns the unit, so all I do is just bounce back to the base.
Yep, and a great answer there. And that's sometimes the risk and reward that you got to be very careful and calculated with, is going to be all the responses that Ari can have. But even still, even right now, having another Kaisa come in, this is exactly what you want to see, because you're not only going to be able to take the game to your opponent with all the gear that you already have attached on a Kaisa for that matter, but then you're also always able to guarantee, you know, potentially more card draw, which is what Lucian needs more than anything.
And now we also saw that the Fwonk was used, right? So it's unlikely that the Ari would have another one, even though they get 2 draws basically every turn because, you know, they can't let go of the God Willow. Now they must move into another battlefield to get the point advantage, or they will just let me draw cards free, basically. So they have to go into a battlefield and then they have to keep their runes up. It's a lot easier with Sona giving you 4 at the end of the turn, just so they can, like, protect themselves from me. I know they can't stun me, but I know they could have some combat tricks like an On Guard, for example, or a Feral Strength.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And also one thing that I think Ari needs to be very careful with. Now, of course, you do have Defies and you know, things like that, but Challenge can sometimes be such a powerful asset here for Orange to be able to utilize. And when you already have a very fed Kaisa here, then you can easily take out like a signature Ari there to really devastate your opponent.
And one really cool thing as well, if I go in with one of the Kaisas into the big battlefield and the Kaisa dies, that's fine. I made them use their cards, and then my equipment just goes back to my base. I basically have all my runes available, so I can just reattach everything and then go in with another unit that is as powerful as that. And right now, I'm considering, do I go into the Ravenbloom or the upper battlefield? Going into the Ravenbloom, they will have to pump a lot of cards to, you know, match the 9 might. And what do we see? A Discipline potentially coming in for that extra draw, I think. So Discipline being played. The Student goes to 4 from the Discipline from a spell being played, and then it goes up to a total of 6 with that extra +2. Still not enough to kill the 9 might that the Kaisa is, so potentially just allowing me to conquer, get a point, and also take control of Forge of the Fluffed, so I can essentially play a gear to my base, and then attach it for free, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just something that you got to be so careful and calculated about. And, you know, especially with Ari here, already committed to trying to buff up and maybe was trying to find that little extra answer, and still has the hidden card, probably Azonia's Hourglass, that will be able to save the Ravenbloom student. You don't necessarily want to waste it on that, and so unfortunately, just the Kai'Sa is going to be able to conquer and draw a card, and that can add so much different versatility for you to be able to attack in to potentially another Grove of the God Willow. And it seems like even that, like, that extra card, it's not quite making maybe as big of an impact on what we're maybe expecting in, you know, this type of game state.
And we also see the Ruin Runner being played into the battlefield down below. Ruin Runner being, I can't be chosen by enemy spells and abilities, so charms don't work, just most of the cards that work. Hidden Blade doesn't work. The only thing that can actually kill this is things that doesn't target a card. So a good example being a Call the Weak. However, Ari plays blue and green runes, so nothing really possible to do that. And then Lucian as well, going into the battlefield, tapping me out. But what can the Ari do? The Ari can't really go back and do anything. And I was playing mainly around a Watcher, so I was trying to see if they were to pull a Watcher and go in, they would have to accelerate with 8 runes available, and then they would not be able to go past the battlefield at bottom. Kai'Sa being 8 might, minus 3, that's 5. Ruin Runner becoming 2 might, so that's 7. And then the Lucian would become a 1, being an 8. So if the Watcher did accelerate and go in, it would essentially trade and die for 3, and then I would get 2 more equipments that would go to my base. So that was kind of the thinking that I had for playing all those units to the battlefield at the bottom, in case there was an extra draw that, had the Watcher, which it did.
Yep. Looks like a great top deck too. But also one thing that I do really like what this situation also sets up for you here is that on the next turn, you are playing into a tapped out Ari. This is almost a very ideal situation where it's like, all right, let's run it. Because you're giving me so much versatility here. You have the rune count. You have the ability as Lucian to be able to get some insane plays off. And if you're also then able to clear the board, then Ari is going to be having a very difficult time on trying to come back into this game.
Yeah, and I believe I actually miscounted as well that the Watcher would die and the Lucian will actually be alive, which means that I do get the hold point. So I calculated just 1 might extra. So the Lucian actually stayed. And the cool thing is, having control of Forge of the Fluffed, I get to attach an equipment for 3. So a long sword costing to attach, instead of just paying the actual cost and not deramping myself, I can just tap my Lucian Legend. So Forge of the Flunt's so powerful, which is super, super nice. And here my opponent says that they forgot to ready 4 of their runes for the Sona. And I said, sure, no worries, go ahead, since this is just a Nexus night. We're all friends here playing, so no worries.
Yeah, but I mean, gosh, if you were in a skirmish or a regional, that would be a bit of a misplay there. But I mean, you also get to see the power that Sona is able to utilize here. I mean, the 4 runes at the ready, you're essentially playing with now 11 runes in a turn, or 12 runes in a turn, because you had the accelerated Watcher, and then you still have 4 runes left over. So a lot that you have to try to play around, but still, the momentum is there, but still also locking down Grove of the God Willow, just always getting those 1 points. The risk of that is that unless you have something that can be accelerated like Thousand Tail Watcher, Lucian is looking really good with the Trinity Force.
And over here as well, I'm going over my Kai'Sa, a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 might total. So 1 for the assault being negated by the Ari, and then also Ari Inquisitive as well, targeting my Kai'Sa. I thought I could go in there and kill the Sona. I forgot about the tank, so my Kai'Sa died, and I just killed the Lecturing Yordle. I was just trying to get rid of that Sona as much as I could.
Yeah, and that can be a bit of a difficult situation there, but we'll see what else is able to be done. Hopefully some spells. We haven't seen necessarily a whole lot of spells being utilized here in particular, that we have been able to have answers like unit-wise and equipment-wise, but not necessarily spell-wise. So that could be sometimes maybe a little bit of a setback, because, again, like one card that I absolutely love right now is Challenge, and I think that would be something to just absolutely make a major impact into this board state.
And here again, we see the first mate coming out onto the board, readying the Lucian, and then also playing an accelerated Kai'Sa. So quite a good hand. The fact that I saw 3 Kai'Sa this game, really, really nice. And then I'm going into the battlefield to try and kill as many of the units as I can there. So the Lucian going in, getting the -2 from the Ari, and then -1 from the Ari Legend ability, but enough just to trade out everything, and then still have the ability to have a unit in my base, a unit on Forge of the Fluffed, and also have some equipment that I can attack.
And so even still, though, this is a major commitment, and I got to be asking, how intimidating is it, though, every time trying to take a battlefield when Ahri has 4 runes up turn after turn.
It's not fun, I must say, and also a feral strength as well is also not fun to play against, because we saw those 4 runes went up, and you can just literally play feral strength repeated, give a unit +4 in that turn, so the Ahri goes up and essentially kills all of my units. So I just got to kill the Sona, which is nice. And here as well we see I forgot the name of that card, Emperor's Divide. Move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to their base. So they use that card to move the Ahri over to their base at reaction speed. So we just sorted it out because we called it a little late, but all good.
Yep, and that is a lot cheaper card than Flash, that's for sure. Very powerful card to be able to save a much-needed unit at this point. But even with that exchange, it seems like that Lucian in this case is still in a good position at 5-5, and there's only 1 unit out in Ahri. Now, of course, Ahri can still go down and conquer a battlefield, potentially be able to get another point, but then now needing to be able to build up your board state is something that Mislav is going to need to be able to do successfully. Otherwise, Lucian can continue to bombard turn after turn after turn and just make it a very difficult situation for Ahri to be able to come back from.
100%. And right now, earlier in the turn, I decided to move the Lucian back, because if they could accelerate something, it could look pretty rough for me. And also them attacking with an Ahri could look bad for me as well. And also I do not get the assault bonus when I'm defending. So retreating with Lucian, making sure that your opponent has nothing on the battlefield so they're forced to go in, and then you can just simply attack back, use the assault bonus is super, super nice. Because if I was just always defending and holding, I'm not utilizing my legend to its maximum potential, which I always want to as much as I can.
Yeah, well, and I feel like you almost need to also, because otherwise you're just going to get punished time and time again with things. And in this case, I do like that we do see the Lecturing Yordle coming into play. That's going to be a great card draw. But I gotta say, the Stalwart Poro, maybe not what you want to be seeing right now. You're hoping for maybe a little bit more, but at the same time, something at least is better than nothing.
Yeah, 100%. And we see another hidden card going down. I wonder what that might be. It could be another one of those Emperor's Divide cards. Like you said, it could be a Zonius to revive somebody. And I don't remember what I exactly did, but I do know that the Lecturing Yordle has tank. Therefore, if I go in with a small unit, I can just simply go in there and just, kill it. But here I see Piercing Light coming in repeated, which is very nice, which allows to deal 2 unit to a unit at a battlefield, then up to 2 to another unit. And repeated, you can do that twice. So I was going to target the Ahri, and then Yordle. However, sadly, it got defied.
Oh, dang. And yeah, that's one of the things too. And I mean, you already see even another defy still in hand. So if there's any other responses at this point, still going to be a very difficult situation to find themselves in. But you got to be, that's the hard part. It's like, even if you have defies or things like that, not so fast, that's essentially 6 cards that have the chance of responding to your targets. And when you only have a 40 card deck and Ahri's able to draw a decent amount, it's unfortunate, but yep, they're probably going to have those answers.
And here we see the Lucian running into Grove of the Godwillow. So Lucian being 3 might +2/+2. So that's a total of 7, 8 and 9 from the from the assault. So 9 might total. Taking 2 away from the Ahri, so a total of 7 might, and then 1 from the legend, so a total of 6 might. The Ahri Inquisitive being a might of 3, and the Lecturing Yordle being a might of 3, makes it so this would be a even trade. So I would be able to clear the battlefield, and if that is Azonia's, they go back to their base, but I get to take control of the battlefield and make it easier for myself, and then also clear their units from the board.
Yeah, well, and one thing that this has been a very, very much a slugfest of might, just going back and forth time and time again. That is such a powerful answer, though, being able to add shield +3 and double tank. Not that that matters necessarily for Lecturing Yordle, but he is double protecting the Ahri here in this point, and that shield +3 can be such a big difference maker there. But now the Yordle is taken down, and we still have 1 readied unit and all the runes that you could ever want.
and literally can just do the same thing, just equip all the other gear to the other units, and then just walk in again. So the Ari is most likely going to die. I mean, I saw that the opponent had 2 runes up, but sometimes you gotta risk it, because if I do not try and go in, then they can just win next turn. So sometimes you just have to go in because it's the correct play. And right now, I was looking at my opponent, they're kind of hesitating to play anything, which made me pretty confident. And here we see simply just killing the Ari, getting a point, so now it's 6 versus 6. They would have to accelerate something, but they don't have enough runes. Actually, they will have enough runes next turn, but they already used the Watcher before. So it's pretty safe for me so far, and leaving a lot of runes open. Potentially playing something to base, another first mate to ready it, and just move back. So, yeah.
No, and that's been some great responses there. And that's the thing. It's like, who is going to be able to have the better answers here? And I mean, that was a wall that Mislov was able to build up with Ari, and still being able to utilize the gears properly, that you're able to move in, take out a couple of units, and then be like, all right, cool. Well, all that might that was just added to a unit, here it is on another one, and just swinging in turn after turn. And I think that was probably one of the big difference makers, because how do you continue to get answers of Ungard's disciplines and things like that to be able to hold up to all of that might that continues to swing in?
And one thing as well, in terms of this decision to go back to base, obviously if my opponent could accelerate, they would just purely win the game and then just score both battlefields. However, if I held the battlefield and they played a Watcher, they would have killed me anyway, and I would have lost the game anyway. So I would rather go back and put myself into a position to do a double conquer potentially, rather than risking it, because I would have lost anyway if they had a Watcher. So this was kind of the only decision I saw. And a really cool top deck that I just had, which basically lost my opponent the game, Skyfall of Arion. Which is my hold effects are also conquer effects and vice versa. So attaching that to my first mate with a Trinity Force, all I have to do is walk into Forge of the Fluffed, and I get 2 points simply for conquering, because you're allowed to score the 8th point through other effects to count as the 8th point. So pretty much taking game 1 because of this in this best of 3.
Yeah, and I really like what that was able to bring to the game. Great answer there to be able to win out on a very formidable opponent there. Now, I do got to say, that might be also one of the advantages to maybe going against an Ari, is that sometimes, they don't necessarily have the gear destruction that what you normally see in other deck lists. The blue and green, outside of maybe Pickpocket, doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of utilization there. So, again, that's something that Lucian's able to capitalize on. We have a Trinity Force that we're able to play out in the early game, and guess what? We're able to threaten potentially getting 2 points for the rest of the game in this matchup, and I think that can be such a difference maker here.
Yeah, and one note as well, I didn't actually bring a sideboard with me, because this was first timing my deck during this Nexus night, so I pretty much played with whatever I had in my deck the whole time, and you can see my opponent trying to side out some cards, and then me trying to do the shuffle, because I normally suck at shuffling because I'm still new to card games, and whenever I built a new deck, I would always only draw spells or only draw units. So I would just go to random players and be like, "Can you please shuffle my deck?" And that was the best solution I had.
Yeah, well, and sometimes that happens. And also, you were going into the Nexus now. You were so confident with Lucian. You're like, I don't need a side deck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be able to beat you just with these 40 cards. That's all I need.
Yeah, and I'm also a little disappointed that I don't have the overnumbered Lucian, but I already bought one from Mislav, which I'm actually playing against. So he's selling me one of his Lucian overnumbers. So next time I'm playing Lucian, I can play it in style, which will be very
that's
nice.
Awesome. And that's what I love, how that overnumbered looks. It looks so good. And I mean, we'll see. And gosh, also, I gotta say again, his overnumbered Aries, man, those just look so good.
Oh yeah, and I must say, I didn't like the look of the new overnumbered legends, how they looked online because of the color schemes. However, in person, I thought they looked absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part too, because yeah, especially when I saw the Draven, the Ezreal, and stuff like that, it's not necessarily anything special, but man, does Riftbound just do a great job with like the texturing on the cards and the vibrancy that is able to be utilized there. It looks so good. And so here we go, though, into game number 2, Jacob versus Mislov. And is Ari going to be able to win out and force a game 3? But we got an Obelisk of Power and a Dreaming Tree, so there's a lot that is going to be seen.
So instantly starting on 4 runes is so fun. And I had quite a really lucky draw, I think. I had a great mulligan. I had a really good turn 1. And I was debating on what to actually play because I had so many options. Do I play a Lucian? Do I play a gear? And then pretty much when I play the Lucian using the Weapon Master effect, equip it for free. Do I let my opponents score points? It was just a lot of decisions, but I decided to go for a Bone Shiver. And the reason I did that is so I can always keep my runes up and play that. So then the Weapon Master effect would come in handy. And Bone Shiver being when I conquer Channel 1 and Exhausted. And I changed my mind to play a Trinity Force instead, as you can see. Because if I play a Trinity Force, I can just use all my 4 runes and then use my, I guess, energy to its full maximum value, I would say.
Yeah, well, and also, again, just having that threat of Trinity Force is such a powerful asset for you to be able to utilize. You are giving the opponent such a pressure there that makes it so difficult. And so now we're able to maybe taking a little bit of a step back. That's probably one of the hardest parts about piloting Lucian is that you do sometimes end up actually playing out like a gear instead of a unit. And so that alone can start giving your opponent a little bit of an advantage there, where they might be able to get 2 or 3 points before you're able to start contesting the battlefields. And now that we're able to see an Aurelia coming in, you got to be worried about the deflects. Not only that, anytime she's chosen, she gets that +1. That right there is a lot of versatility that Ari, especially with the Legend ability, can capitalize on.
Yeah, I got really scared when I saw that Irelia, but luckily I had a really good answer for this. Lucian coming in from my champion board for 3 energy, equipping the Trinity Force, making him a total of 5 might. I then tapped 2 and recycled 1 to play a really nice and really strong card. What did I play? Challenge. Yep, challenge, recycling 2 for the deflect. Choose a friendly unit and an enemy unit that deal damage equal to their might to each other. So the Irelia instantly died, which was very nice for me. Essentially just only leaving the Ravenbloom up on the board. And I was so happy I managed to get rid of that threat.
Well, and that's got to be one of the most careful things you have to be in. And Aurelia players are usually pretty good at doing this too, where they have the Guardian Angel out, they have the Zhonya's Hourglass, something to be able to protect Aurelia, because right there, that was 5 runes that was utilized, and now it's nothing there. Yes, the deflect was able to help set you back a little bit there, but even still, now in response, you have 2 Poros and a Ravenbloom student. Whoop-de-doo, really, you know, kind of thing. So that's a little bit of a risk-reward there, and I almost would think that the 2 Plundering Poros might have been a little bit more optimal of a play at that point.
Yeah, and the Poros being when I conquer play Gold Gate token exhausted is pretty strong because I don't have anything on the battlefield, and Lucian wants to sit in the base, right? He doesn't want to hold, which means it's pretty easy for the Ari player to do so. So that is quite a good card in the matchup, in my opinion, if you're able to utilize it, because, like I said, Lucian wants to sit in base, doesn't want to hold, so you can utilize its effect as much as you can. And we see 3 being tapped again to play Skyfall of Aerion, which is really, really nice. So I got the Trifinity combo off super early. I've got the Triforce, I've got the Skyfall, so I can conquer and instantly score 2 points and then ready myself with Lucian, which is super cool. So here I walk into the Dreaming Tree, score 2 points instantly, so now I'm on the same amount of points as the Ari player, readying the Lucian, and then it allows me to walk back. And here I see using 2 runes and a recycle to play a Piercing Light, targeting myself twice, and then targeting 2 units in my enemy's base. And because I targeted myself, the Dreaming Tree allows me to draw.
So it's a painful draw, but it's a draw all the same. And again, being able, being able to take down a couple of units in the process is a very powerful play. Now, at the same time, though, the rune differential here is something that I do just have to take note from, because yes, while we're able to now continue to score essentially 2 points a turn, now we're seeing, I mean, what is that? 9 runes on the side of Ari compared to 6 on the following turn for Jacob. And that can be something that can really start to tip the scales. But at the same time, it really feels like that Ari has been struggling with maybe the card draw and finding the answers that is more so needed than small units.
Yeah, and just the fact that, right, that Lucian has a Skyfall and a Trinity, you have to defend, or it's just going to be 2 points permanently scored per turn. You walk in, you score 2, and you walk back out, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And we see a little bit of reinforcement going into one of the battlefields. A Stalwart Poro, which has shield 1, so it's a total of 3 might defending, and then a Raven Bloom, so a total of 5 might there. And then another Plundering Poro going down over to the battlefield below. So the Ari is on 4 points now. Basically, all of their runes are up, and they have a gold token. I wonder what they can have to kind of like stop the Lucian from just coming in and just killing them with the amount of gears equipped and the assault.
Yeah, and the difficult part with that too is, you know, one of the things that, especially as a Lucian player, I would not necessarily want to maybe attack into the Dreaming Tree at this point. Just because the last thing that I would want to do, I already, would be probably reading into that the Ari is struggling with a lot of card draw and having a lot of the answers here. Okay, cool. Well, if I can continue to just attack into the Obelisk of Power and potentially trying to conquer in that sense, I could be in a much better position and ultimately get ahead of what Ari could potentially be dishing out.
Yeah, and that Ari Inquisitive is just kind of a good counter in my opinion as well, because basically -3 to any unit going in, negating the assault costs, and then negating just having a gear basically. And then now we see the Bone Shiver finally coming out. So now every time I hold or every time I conquer, I essentially channel 1 Exhausted and I score 2 points, which is really cool. So purely just for walking into a battlefield, I have a total of 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 might, -1, 11 against an Ari. And what can you do? You can stun, you can on guard, you can discipline yourself, but there's no way you can get yourself up to that amount of might to trade with a Lucian. So there's pretty much no answer to that, and it just allows me to walk in and just score 2 points.
And again, just being able to get off that combo, yes, especially in a Lucian deck, this can be a difficult combo to try to get off, that you need really 2 somewhat expensive combo pieces with the Skyfall and the Trinity Force, and you're still able to see what kind of impact this is able to bring. Not only that, but also seeing that Ari didn't necessarily have any responses that he wanted to use here to be able to help protect the Poro there. Very telling. And also maybe a little good sense of the momentum here. Still have to be maybe a little bit careful about a Thousand Tail, but with 2 runes left up on Jacob's side, might still be able to have the answers there.
Yeah, and a Thousand Tailed coming in would essentially drop the Lucian down from 9 might, which it has defending, to a total of 6. So quite easy to, play a punch first and get over that hurdle, including if they had any unguards or whatever. If I was to be charmed over, they can't really do anything about it anyway, because you're going to charm, 11 might coming in? You still have to, use cards and then deal with it, so it's quite strong. And then I think we see my opponent pass, so I go all the way to 6 points straight away with all of their runes open, which makes me pretty terrified. But it also means that they have to take the battlefield back, because I can simply just score 2 points next turn and just win.
Well, and again, this is what I love. You are applying such a pressure here. And it's like, hey, well, I can just keep defending. I can keep doing this and surviving here. And it's like, what can you potentially do in response to this? And it's like, well, maybe not much. And so even right now, being able to pull the Lucian out, it's going to be interesting to see what else is done, as another Bone Shiver is going to be coming in and equipped. There could be a couple of answers here that just, you're like, all right, cool, let me just attack him for these final 2 points.
And as well, with 4 equipment added on, that basically makes my Lucian a 12 might. So 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 4 with assault. So that's a total of 12 plus 3 from Lucian, that's 15. So when I attack, a total of 15 might. When I'm in base, a total of, I think, 11? Yes, a total of 11. So super strong, the challenge coming out there, but not so fast being played. So I couldn't target the enemy Ari, which I wanted to kill. So I believe it's potentially going to be just a pass sitting in base. And once again, they can go to 7 points maximum next turn. And I can just conquer and score 2 straight away because I have Skyfall and I also have the Trinity Force. And they just have to either... Well, I don't think they actually have any way out, right? Because I can just walk into the battlefield down below, or I can just attack the battlefield above. And from seeing what they have in the hidden cards, it's Emperor's Divide that makes them go back to base, or it's a block. And I think with the amount of might that I have, I can just walk in and just kill everything in one go, even with that extra shield free from the block.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I really love what Lucian is able to provide. You're able to see just how powerful the champion ability is here, that you are able to ready after a conquer and then just retreat right back out, because that's where Lucian really shines as a legend, that you are able to add the assault with each gear that you have attached. And so there is so much power that you are able to utilize here. And it's like, cool, well, I want to put a Thousand Tail Watcher into base. All right, well, you better have a lot more answers than, maybe a couple of Unguards and Discipline, because guess what? Lucian is going to get over that.
Yeah, and I feel like the Watcher had to be played and moved into the battlefield. And just having one rune up, like, what are you going to do? You have to have, like, put something there. And there's a hidden card that goes in. Once again, I don't think there's anything that can pretty much save it. I think it's just pretty much a done deal from this point on. The Lucian is just too strong, and then we see a Brynhir Thundersong coming out, so it allows my opponent to play no cards, including hidden cards. So that basically, I think, just seals the deal to just straight up win the game.
Yep, there's not necessarily anything else that is able to be done. Just very well done, getting the answers that were needed there, and being able to properly utilize everything needed. And now as the Lucian's able to move in, able to score the final 2 points, and a much needed victory right there, and showing exactly why Lucian might be a force to be reckoned with.
And yeah, the Trifinity combo coming in. But once again, thank you everybody for watching and your support. You can check Silent Night out on YouTube Silent Night, and we'll see you guys next time. Nice, awesome.
Yeah, that was a good game.
That was fun.
Dang.
Yeah, let me pull up the list for anybody who might want to
yeah.
stream. Let me get it up. But yeah, it was super fun. I was really happy, and I managed to win that Nexus Night 4-0,
wow.
including just like wrecking the last skirmish winner that I lost to in the semi-final, because I managed to top deck Relentless Pursuit and then just go in and win the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I have the deck list, but I made it bright chroma green because I thought it would be funny to like send a deck list to a friend and just hurt their eyes because it's just pure green on the screen. So I'm gonna go cut it on right now. So warning.
Oh wow! Thanks for allowing that to be on my stream. Thank you. No, that's awesome.
So this is the deck list. So it's running 3 Lucians, running a single Sabotage,
2
3 Punch
Kaisa.
First. Yeah, so 2 Kaisas in there. I believe I ran 3 in this other list that I played, so this list got a little bit updated. But this was one of the other lists that I played. It was just nice. I just got lucky enough to always draw something, and the Ruin Runner came in so clutch, right? So what I would do is I would just build up a bunch of gear, right? Then I would play a unit, and I guess we call this cascading. So I would attack, die, kill as much of units as I could, and then I would just re-equip everything to somebody else and just keep doing that. But using a Ruin Runner, especially against Miracle, they can't do anything. I played against the Sivir, right? They had Rebukes and Fight or Flights. Useless. Because I attacked early enough to score a bunch of points, and it forced them to go sit on a battlefield, and then they would hide hidden cards. So then I just played a Ruin Runner, which I got quite lucky to have, and I just walked in. And what can they do? Nothing. They have to stack battlefields, or you just score points for free. So it was super fun. And there's also the Ferris Forerunners if you play against like spell decks, right? So let's say you play against a Kaisa, and then your Forerunner dies. You get 2 mechs, you can equip stuff with them, and attack. And then the Assault is so nice. There's one deck that I haven't played against, which is the Irelia, which I want to try. because Irelia can pump so hard to have so much might, right? So I think Lucian could be a pretty good counter because if I have 3 equipments in my base, which I have a lot of them, and I equip them, every single unit I have will be a minimum of 9 to 10 might, which means every time I attack, the Irelia will have to either die or use a lot of cards from their hand. So that's every turn. So if I can get fast enough, score a little bit of points, apply pressure, and then get gear, the Irelia can slowly, very quickly run out of cards to actually play, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. No, and the deck looks really good. And it's also really impressive that you were able to get the combo piece off with Skyfall and Trinity, especially only running 2 Trinity. Or, 2 Skyfall.
Yes, and also the Brynhir Thundersong being like so clutch as well. You saw it in the last game where I literally just played it, even though my opponent didn't have any answers anyway, most likely. And imagine I was playing against a purple deck where they had 2 hidden cards. Brynhir Thundersong makes it so you cannot play any cards. So that means hidden cards as well, because revealing a hidden card counts as playing it. So that was kind of a nice counter to it as well. So they literally could do nothing. It was just a 15 might Lucian that was just going to run in and kill everything and score 2 points. And yeah, no answers at all.
Dang. No, I love that. I'm going to have to try this deck out.
Mm.
Looks like a lot of fun.
I genuinely thank you so much for casting this stuff with me. I hope everyone watching has enjoyed as well. I will be hopping out going to bed because it's very late for me. It's midnight and I got work tomorrow in the morning. And as well, I saw in chat someone asked, I assume given Jacob is commentating, this isn't a live game. This was all recorded over the last few Nexus nights I went to. So I basically just set up a recording and then I play myself in like the Nexus night and then just enjoy myself while also getting some top games recorded of the locals. So I'm trying to get like some variety. And I got some more spicy games as well for you, Silent, as well, if you're free any other day, where we have like a Rek'Sai matchup, we have like a Master Yi matchup, we have like a load of fun matchups that's like not the ordinary meta. And I think people would love and enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know, and I'm always happy to cast with you.
Awesome. Thank you. And I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you once again. And I'll see you later. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Bye bye. See you later.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. A lot of fun. Glad that we were able to get a lot of that going. So, with that being said, that is going to be it for the stream. It is, I believe, dinner time and need to go help the wife a little bit with all of that. But thank you guys so much all for being here. Surprised. 229 of you on Twitch and YouTube both. So, gosh, couldn't do it without you guys. You guys make it so much fun to be able to bring you these games. Of course, all of these videos are going to be on Riftlabs YouTube. Jacob is nice enough to allow me to live stream these games to you. Almost a little bit of a preview for you guys. And so a lot of fun that way. But yeah, if you want to continue to see gameplay like that, head over to Riftlabs. Great guys that are able to bring you a lot of fun content. They also have custom playmats that they have designed out that you can order as well. Really cool stuff there. But that's going to be it for now. If you guys want to start seeing a little bit more of live streaming and casting, commentating, all that jazz, let me know. We are going to be doing a lot more live streaming coming to you here momentarily. So if you're on YouTube and you want to get a good subscribe in, great place to do so. Also on Twitch, if you want to give a follow, we are going to be doing a lot more of that too. So thank you guys so much for being here. Jang, Ken, also seeing Summoners Weekly. Great to see you. Amazonis Master. Good to see you guys all. Really means a lot. And thank you. And until